doing a Zoom meeting. We got quite a team gathered. We got the experts out there ready to go. And hopefully you tune in and that we can find something to share something that will help you. Right now, I just want to turn it over to our MC, and that's Debbie. She's down in Anderson, Missouri. So we're spread out, even though we're Zooming. We're coming to you through one little funnel, but she's way down there in Anderson. It is. You do live in Anderson, right, Debbie?
I live the next town down. It's Lanigan.
Oh, I don't think you ever told me that before. So
yes, it's in between Knoll and Anderson, but we're halfway in between.
All right. Well, take it away, Debbie.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and we're so glad that you're with us tonight. And Saturday night is about recovery, and we're just here to have you, happy to have you with us. So I believe we're going to start with the 12 step, and Macy is going to take it for us tonight and do the 12 steps for us. Thank you, Macy.
Just a minute, I dropped the book.
Oh.
Okay. Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, praying for knowledge of His will for us and power to carry it out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Macy. That was real good. And I was just wondering if we could go one by one and introduce who's here. I'm Debbie, and we're so glad you're here. And how about Paul, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. Glad you're here tonight.
And how about Zach?
I'm sorry, I had some technical difficulties. I didn't hear anything you just said.
I just wanted you to say hello to everybody.
Hello. I got booted, but I came back. Hello, everybody. I'm glad you're here.
And Lisa, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here. Hello, everybody. Glad you're here.
And how about John? Is John there?
Hello, I'm here.
And Doug?
Yes, I am here also, and we're glad that everybody's with us, and I'm glad that you're all here, whether you're here with us Zoom or out there in video land. So back to you, Debbie.
Okay, and since this is the 12th month, we are on the 12th step, and Paul will be doing our step work tonight. So Paul, can we give it to you?
Yep. By the time we reach step 12, we should be living a lot healthier than we were in the beginning. And so that gives us some advantages over people who haven't done any of the work. And if you didn't get it all right this year, we'll be starting over next month with step 1, and you can go through it with us again. And each time you do that, you'll grow a little bit. But step 12 is having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs. And the section in the book that I'm looking at tonight is on sharing together. And it says, am I connected to the vine? And how do the 12 steps help me to remain in him? And I feel so much more connected than I did when I first showed up about 7 years ago. None of you guys were my friends, and I didn't understand the concepts. And now I feel like I've got an ocean of friends around me that love and accept, and it's just really good to know that you can walk into a place with no judgment. And I'm going to go back and read the out of the Bible, the 12 step, our Bible, and read that before I get to the next part. So since we have worked through the 12 steps, we're in a special position to carry the message to others. We can recognize the warning signs and addictive, compulsive tendencies in those around us, as well as in ourselves. When touching on such deep and sensitive issues, it's important to speak the language of love and not condemnation. The Bible tells us if someone is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back into the right path, and be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself. Share each other's burdens, and in this way, obey the law of Christ. The command was the one Jesus taught his disciples. So now I am giving you a new commandment: love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. This is my commandment: love each other in the same way that I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. We are not the Savior, but we love others as he has loved us. Love goes beyond mere words, and sometimes it's spoken in silence when we don't condemn someone who comes to us looking for help. Love doesn't just tell them what the problems are, it helps carry the weight of their burdens. We can be part of a support network to help carry our friends until they are able to take steps toward recovery on their own initiative. I grew up being pretty judgmental and not even realizing that I was. I would see people who were broken, and I would look at them and think, well, why don't they just do like I do? And when I first came around and started to meet people who had fractured lives, I could look into their eyes and see that there was something missing there. The light and hope had gone out of them because of whatever their circumstance was that drove them into the addiction. But it took me a little bit to begin to understand that. And one of the things I love about our meetings start out when we were having the live meetings with, you're welcome here, whether you're drunk or sober, clean or high. And when I first came, I thought, well, why would you want drunks and high people at a recovery meeting? But common sense, after thinking about it for a minute, is that's what you're there for, is to help those people. And when I got to look at the folks at Saturday Night Live that were around me, when they said, you're welcome here, they really mean you're welcome here. And I learned from this group how to truly accept somebody without judging them when they walk in. And that's one of the greatest things that's really changed my life, is understanding that some people are broken and they do need some help when they first show up. And then as they work through the steps, you help them walk along And they may not always just buzz right through it like it's easy. For some folks, it's really hard. But we're not here to judge you. We're here to love you, and that's what we're going to do. One thing, and that's part of that. And then the thought of telling others how their life can be changed. Penn and Teller, they're magicians, and Penn Jillette. There's a video on YouTube, and he's talking. He's an atheist. He doesn't believe in God, but he said, if we do believe and we don't tell people, how bad would you have to hate somebody to allow them to suffer and withhold the truth from them? And that really struck me, that somebody who doesn't believe could see that sharing the gospel and sharing the message of hope is so important, that if you really believe it, you would share it. And that's part of step 12, is knowing that you've kind of got into a better shape and you're healthier today, but you should look back and find somebody who's behind you and share what you have with them, because at some point you were in a miserable, horrible place in addiction, and you found a way out. And it's so much easier for somebody who found their way out to show somebody the way out than it is for somebody who doesn't understand anything they've gone through. So we should share because we care. And that's what I got for step 12.
Thank you, Paul. That was real good. We really appreciate it. And how about some reflection on that, Zach?
All right, thank you. That was really good, Paul. And I wanted to say that we're better with you. You make us better. We're glad that you're a part of us, and you're definitely one of the pillars there at SNL that help us change lives, and we're better that we have you. Doug, I got booted. You might want to make me co-host again if you haven't already, because I got booted and had to come back on completely. Tonight I'm doing reflection, and I wanted to share a short video Paul had picked, sharing together. I'm going to go ahead and read the step, and then we'll go from there. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. And this is the last step, and we don't work the steps once, we work them. I kind of believe we work them for the rest of our life. Not everybody does that, but you learn something new all the time if you continue to work them. And the video I want to show is by Brene Brown. It's 2.5 minutes or something. It's really, really short, but it's I think it's a really good depiction of what we're talking about tonight. And it kind of shows what we do at SNL. And I was in a training yesterday, and they showed it there. It kind of brought it back in my memory, and I was thinking about the step, and I thought, how I thought it would be neat to show it, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it and go through some questions, and I'll be done. So bear with me. I'm going to attempt to do this here. It's my first time to try to do this. So here we go. Let me know if you see it. You can't?
I saw a lady take a shot.
Hang on. When I have, Lisa says there's no sound here. I'm trying to see what I need to do. Do I need to mute myself maybe? I don't know.
I see the sound up. It may have not had any sound yet, you know.
No, it's playing.
Oh, okay. Here's something.
So what is empathy?
There.
And why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here. And you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no. You want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Okay. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So I hope that worked, and you can see that it's a very quick video. If you want to look that up and watch it again, it's just look up Brene Brown empathy. And I'm going to read a question here, and then we'll talk about that. Sharing together question 2, is my recovery attractive to other addictive or compulsive people because I am becoming more loving rather than condemning those who need my help? And you know, we've all ran into that person in recovery who, whether they've been in recovery a long time or a short time, they kind of act like they've arrived, or they look down on you, and that doesn't make you want to come back. It doesn't make you feel like you can be very successful, and that's not who we want to be. And if that's happened to you, I'm sorry. And that individual has more problems than their addiction. And you know, at SNL, one thing that we try to do is we try to just come alongside people and help them through their struggle. And you know, none of us have it made. You know, we're all trying to get where we want to go, and it doesn't matter if you have, you know, 2 days or 2 years or 10 years. you're still in recovery, and you got to practice it. And when we start thinking we've arrived, we're in danger. We start thinking that we're safe, we're in danger. And question 3 says, what am I doing to reach out with Jesus's love? And I think that video kind of illustrates what we need to do to come alongside somebody and sit with them in their pain or their struggle is a very powerful thing. And you don't have to have all the answers. You just have to know, we know what pain is. That's a common thing. We all know what pain is. And to just sit alongside somebody, you don't have to fix them. It just does amazing things. The video was a really powerful thing. I saw it a long time ago and then seen it again yesterday. The bear puts a ladder in the hole, and he gets down in the hole with the person. And that's very, very important. If we're just at the top of the hole and somebody's in a pit of despair, and all we do is say, you can't help them shouting down the hole. You got to get in the hole with somebody because you know the way out. You got to get down there with them on their level and meet them where they are and tell them that you know the way out. And one of the key factors that was pointed out yesterday that I hadn't noticed before was that the question was asked, who turned on the light? And the bear turned on the light. So this person was in darkness, and the bear turned on the light. And that's what we do for people. Somebody did that for us. They met us where we were in recovery, and they turned on the light, and that's what we continue to do for other people. But what happens if we don't get in the hole? Well, if the bear never got in the hole, then there's nobody to turn the light on. You can shout all you want to from the top of the hole, but the light never comes on. And that's one thing that we do at SNL very well, is that we get in the hole. We feel like Jesus got in the hole with us, and he's not afraid of that, and neither are we. And to get in the hole with somebody and to say, hey, I know where you are, I know what this feels like, and I know the way out. If you want out, when you're ready, let me know. And because I can tell you how to get out of here. And that's very, very, very powerful. And so step 12 is where we give it away. We give our recovery away. And that the other question there, I'm not going to read it, but it talks about how, to me, it talks about how we've come to know how we've been drawn to Christ through the steps, and every step draws us closer to God. And it's the process of little by little letting God get close to us, and coming to peace with ourselves. And so I just want to encourage you tonight that if you're healthy and your recovery is strong. Now, when I was new in recovery, and I was just a few days old in recovery, I didn't go in the bar and try to help people. I didn't, you have to use wisdom, and you don't get in the hole when you're not ready, but if you're healthy and your recovery is strong, don't be the deer shouting from the top there. That reminds me of family. They don't know how to help you, but they want to feed you. They want to give you a sandwich, and but recovery is strengthened when you give it away. That's a part of maintenance to recovery, is when you give it away. And when you help others in the recovery, you help yourself. And That doesn't mean that you go to the drug house and you allow yourself to be around it and get triggered. And we have to use wisdom. And like I said, I didn't go to the bar 3 days in and try to witness to people in the bar and tell them about recovery, because that's kind of a joke. That'd be me lying to myself, wanting to get close to alcohol. And but getting in the hole with somebody, meeting them where they are and telling them that you know the way out is one of the most powerful things you can do. And that's the only way it works. And so that's what we do at SNL. And I'm very grateful that we do it. That's how we do things. And I'm thankful that happened for me. And I just want to encourage others to share your recovery and get in the hole. So that's what I got.
Thank you, Zach. That was real good. I enjoyed that video. And I believe it is Doug time.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks, everyone. And I want to give everybody an opportunity to make any comments or share here before we go forward on what Paul or Zach or the video or anything that Debbie had said. I want to give everybody an opportunity to make any comments. And is there anybody that'd like to start? Raise your hand and I'll go to you. And okay. Lisa, I see a hand up there, so except it won't, it says ask for video, so we can hear you, I think, Lisa, but we won't be able to see you.
Well, and let me just tell everybody, I'm sorry I'm not putting my video on. I have tennis elbow and it's starting to flare up. It's about time to go get it treated again. And so it's kind of hard for me to hold the camera up for the duration. So I want to be here and listen. I just can't always hold my hand up. So I just wanted to say the one thing that I would encourage as well, like Zach said, that common thing is we all know pain. And so one of the things that I really, really think is amazing about SNL is that we have so many people with so many different paths to recovery, that I think sometimes in recovery, some folks get fixated on, you have to understand what I've been through and what I've done in order to help me. But at SNL, we have folks who are struggling with spiritual struggles, with physical struggles, with mental health, with substance use and various different substance uses, or even behavior addictions. And the one thing that I love is that we, like Paul was saying, we really do welcome and we do love. And that was one thing that I found very amazing, is it doesn't matter what your addiction is or what your struggle is. Okay. We have folks who are struggling spiritually who have never touched a substance, but they're able to sit down because they've understood the struggle of recovery and having to overcome something. They can sit down and minister and talk to someone who is coming through a substance recovery. And so sometimes don't be afraid to climb in the hole because you think, well, I just don't know. If you don't know what to say, you say, I don't know, but thank you for sharing with me. And then you talk about your own struggles and what you've overcome. And so by willing to be vulnerable in that way, we can help other people find their path to recovery. And so I just wanted to say, because sometimes people will think, well, I can't get in that hole because I don't understand what happened down there. And that's when we get the deer who goes, whoo, and wants to give us a sandwich. But, we sometimes just need you to turn the light on, even if that light is, here, let me pray with you for a moment. That's all you know. That's all you know. And that's appreciated. So I just wanted to share that too.
I wanted to say this earlier when Zach was talking about that, but you hit it again. If we will just be there, just be, not that we have to do, not that we have to fix, a real healing can begin by just being. And like Zach said in the video, just getting down in the hole and being. So I didn't want to cut you off, Lisa, but I wanted to add, make sure I got that slotted in.
That's very good. And it reminds me of something else that you say all the time, is that we are human beings, not human doings. So if you don't know what to do, just go down the hole and be. So be a human. So I like that. When you said that, just be, that reminded me of that. We're human beings, not human doings. So.
Good. It's good, Lisa. And
Thank you.
Paul, you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah, usually the hardest person to love is yourself. And when you learn how to love somebody else, it lets you learn how to love yourself. If you can accept them, you can understand that they could accept you. And I kind of thought of that while Zach was speaking, to think that, and it's something that he always says, is to treat yourself like you would treat somebody you're trying to help. And just when you go reach out to help somebody else, you're automatically reflecting back and helping yourself grow.
That is really good, Paul. And you know, of course, I have tried to communicate that most of my function here at Saturday Night Live, that to really be effective, we have to love ourselves. And some of the information I'm going to be sharing tonight, they restated it as an absolute, that you're not able to love others unless you do love yourself. And they even kind of indicated, like, and if you don't love yourself, then really you're just pretending. And that sounds harsh. And some people are going to not like that statement, that you're pretending love. I mean, you're trying, it may be the best intentions, but in fact, you're not really able to love others if you don't love yourself. Love thy neighbors as thyself. We talked about that quite a bit last week. And well, that was a good meeting last week, and we had technical problems. We uploaded it. Hopefully, you folks out there have seen, got a chance to see it. So anyway, it was really a special meeting, and we had serious problems last week. Of course, we have technical problems almost every week, but anyway, anything else, Paul?
Yeah, just like you said, you can't share love until you've experienced it and know what it is.
Good. Somebody else said something a moment ago.
Yeah, Doug, it's Lisa again. I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of something too. You know, Zach and I were talking earlier today and talking about that. You can't really love others until you love yourself. And, you know, a little bit of my story and things that I've been going through the last several years is, you know, before I got sick, a lot of the things that I did, that I held dear and was proud of myself for, were things that I did for my family. And they were things that I did, you know, actions, cooking, cleaning, being there, you know, the things that I did for them. And then I got sick and I couldn't do those things anymore. And when I started getting better, it was kind of like I woke up from, I call it the conscious coma. But when I woke up, my kids had grown up and they were doing things on their own, and they didn't need mom to do those things anymore. And, you know, Zach had to become my caretaker. And so things had changed. And my old thinking was that everybody in my life who, when they didn't need me anymore, they'd left. And so that was very hard for me. It was very scary for me. But you know, I think that I through this thing, I see that God has allowed me to grow in ways I never thought I could, because I no longer look at the things that I do for others. I've been able to find new things about, having true relationships and not just based off of the things I do for them. And I find new value in myself, and the relationships that I have and the quality of those relationships. But I was able to let go of those things that I did. And I feel like it kind of had to be stripped away from me for a little while so that I could be vulnerable enough to grow in a different area. Not that it was perfect or pretty, but it was growth. I think it's still a journey I'm working on. I think I'm still growing. But I'm healthier now than I was before I got sick, which sounds a little bit odd, but because I'm still struggling the physical battle, but the emotional and mental battle, I definitely believe that I am stronger now than I have ever been before. So I found a way to be grateful for learning new things and being vulnerable. So
That's awesome, Lisa. And you described in your story the way life is, way recovery is. There are these transforming events, and some people see them as problems, and you always hate it when I say this. I call them golden opportunities. Yes, and they really are. They really
Yes.
are golden opportunities, but they just don't look like it at the time. They're hard. They're painful. We're overwhelmed. We feel like we're sinking. But in recovery story after recovery story, in stories out of the Bible, which are different recovery stories, you have that arc of things, and we continually have that rise and fall in our life. Always. I don't like that. I wish it wasn't so. In my mind, it shouldn't be that way. But guess what? Those thoughts are not reality.
No.
And so we're in this, and boy, step 1 says it really great, and we're going to be getting into that. Step 12, great, but it's we. It's not just me, and we can't recover alone. And boy, I hate that one too, but it's so true, because that's just, well, that's the way most of us are, if not all of us.
Yeah, for so many, well, before I got sick and then after, I call the before and after, but it was almost like I was afraid. We talk about taking what we've learned and giving it away, and for me, I was afraid to be vulnerable enough to give what I could to other people, because when I gave them what they needed, they left me. And so, but as long as I kept it to the secret to myself, they needed me to get the information. So they would have relationship with me because they needed something from me. The thing now that I've learned is that by giving away what I've learned and the things that I value, those things that learn this for yourself, they become healthier and I become healthier. And together we have a relationship, that, they don't necessarily leave if they grow. they
Right.
stick around because healthy people cluster together. So
you developed a healthier relationship because you had a relationship before.
Yeah.
But it was, you have to decide on what degree it was healthy.
Yep.
And that's could be a little tough of a statement too.
No, it's truth. You have relationships, and then you have real, and well, I will use Zach and I as an example. a lot of folks would say that our relationship was pretty rock solid before I got sick. But I would say that we are stronger today than we were then, because I have learned to be more vulnerable and to share more parts of me that I was scared to before. And that it's okay to be vulnerable with people. So my growth in that area, I think, has allowed us to grow together. So.
And I think you said it really well there, Lisa, that you had more parts that you were able to have connection with each other. You know, I see it like a little bit, our life is like windows, and we control how much we open them and which ones we open and who we open them to. And that's where the exchange can take place. And when we go through difficulties, and let's use the golden opportunities, and we're refined through that process, we have more and greater connections, because we had to let go of some stuff that was really blocking, keeping the windows shut. Is that too abstract?
No, it's the truth. I came to accept the reality that Zach loves me, and this is a me thing. It wasn't anything that Zach did. It was all Lisa's stinking thinking. But I came to realize through my journey, I came to the realization that Zach loves me for who I am, not for what I did.
Yes.
And that was something that I could never do for myself. And now I'm learning to love me for who I am, because he set the example. I had to learn, like Paul was saying earlier, sometimes you got to love other people to learn to love yourself. And, and it was an example that that Zach set for me, that helped me learn to love me that way. I didn't have to bail out on me like I did when I was a kid and I was hurt
Yes.
and scared. I don't have to bail out now that I'm hurt and scared. I can stick with it. It's because I love myself and I'm okay. And it's okay that I'm hurt and scared. That's okay. I can get through that.
Yes. You have more emotional endurance now than before.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good. And tonight, what I'm going to be talking about, it ties in with step 12, and it's about self-esteem. And I've titled tonight the 6 practices to build a healthier self-esteem, to build a healthy self-esteem. And so that's, Paul touched on this about going through the 11 steps, and we're working through our stuff, and we're dealing with our stuff, and we're beginning to open up, and we're recognizing that we need something greater than ourselves to do that. And then we're going through the process. We're starting to, instead of avoiding looking at our stuff and our pain, we're starting to deal with it, trying to deal with it a little bit, and start to make some changes and make some amends and start to grow. And that's what all of step 11 was about, was making that spiritual connection and praying for only God's will and the power to carry it out in our life. And so then here we are to step 11, and to the degree that we have a self-esteem, hopefully a healthier self-esteem, then we have something to give. Instead of being now I'm talking about me here, instead of me being a empty sucking hole trying to get things and people to fill it, okay, which is an infinite hole which never will be filled. And I was thinking about that this week, that I remember the time when I realized that hole that I knew that I had, that was trying to suck everything in there and trying to fill it up. I had a thought, a massive thought, and this isn't even what I was going to talk about tonight, that what if What if I'm making it up? Maybe I'm believing a lie that this hole is there. Maybe it's not that way, but I believe and I act like it is because I was. And I thought, well, if it's not there, you know, and that's because I had the ability, my self-esteem, my self-awareness had come to the place where I was able to see, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm living and acting on a lie. I hear that train coming. Anyway, and I was acting on a lie. And when I had that thought, man, and questions are so powerful. You need to ask yourself questions. All of us do. You know, could it be possible that this is not true? Maybe I'm believing a lie. And I looked at it and I said, yeah, it could be. And things started to shift in my life. Anyway, and I'm kind of deviated from our plan here, but it's really good what you're saying, Lisa, and I'm so pleased to hear that, because that's what recovery is all about. That's what Saturday night is about. And the tragedy is, I don't know if this is tragedy or not, but the thing that's sad is that people have the concept that recovery is just stopping acting out, just doing better instead of being better, instead of healing on the inside and being better. You know, and instead and start, and when you start being better, you start living from faith, and you feel more free, and you have more hope, and you have more peace. And I know I'm about to go into a preach here, but it's true. But it's so sad that people have these limits and blocks, and the thing of it is, it's that we all have this. It's hills and valleys, and that's just the way that it is. And it's for all of us, whether you're on this Zoom call or whether you're out there in video land. And that's not a negative. It's just reality. And you can't affect or change your reality until you are aware of it, accept it, and you want to do something about it. And we'll talk a little bit about congruency here in a little while, if we get that far. And so, anything else, Lisa?
No, that was it.
Paul, you had something? Did you have anything else you wanted to add? And I want to come to you next, Zach. Maybe I'm coming to you now. How about? And John, you're after Zach.
I was
No,
down.
I didn't hear what Paul said.
I was done. I had myself muted.
Okay.
Okay. No, I don't. I mean, I think it's good. You know, you know, life is hard, you know, and it happens to all of us, you know, but you know, it makes such a difference how you feel about it, you know, and you know, it's like, and I forget who said this, but maybe you know, Doug, but it's not, and this sounds harsh, you know, and I'm going to say something before I forget, Doug. I think you need to not worry about the time tonight and say whatever you need to say. I'm not just telling you that. I really feel like I need to tell you that, so I'm telling you that. Yes. You know, we've all had some good discussion. It was good, but I think that you need to share what you need to share tonight, and not worry about the time. You know, somebody said that it's not really what happens to us, it's how we feel about it. And there was a long time in my life that I would have said that's complete crap. But the truth is that is very truthful. That is very real. Not that what happens to us doesn't hurt, but how we process it, how we feel about it, what we think, what we add to it, what it means to us, what it triggers, that is where we hurt. That is the pain that comes. And if we could, if we could work on that, if we could not, if we could not make it worse, we make things worse. If we could not make it worse, you were talking about just getting sober and not working on ourselves, and that reminded me of the thing we talk about all the time: recovery versus sobriety. And you can have sobriety. I think you have short-term sobriety if you never have recovery, but you're the same miserable, hurting person with gaping wounds. You may not be using something, but you're not recovered, and you're a relapse waiting to happen because you didn't ever deal with why you're numbing out and escaping anyway. And we have to recover, and like you said, we gotta be about it. We gotta do it on purpose. We can't just stumble into it, and we gotta practice it. And sometimes it seems like it's a huge mountain that we can't climb and it's overwhelming, but it's not. That's a lie. It's not true. It's possible, but we can't do it alone, like you said. And but the first thing is just to start, and if you start and you mess up, then start again. You can always start again, and so but I'm looking forward to what you have to say tonight, and I just wanted to encourage you to not worry about the time. So
Thank you, Zach. John, did you have something you wanted to say?
It all sounds good.
Okay. All right, John. Thanks, John. Debbie, you got anything else before we go into
No,
me?
go ahead. I'm just waiting for some Doug time.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. I have several people on my Facebook that I've been trying to communicate, but folks that are watching, and I'm limited on my mental capacities to function in multi realms at the same time. So I'm trying, but I'm glad you're there. Michael Kaiser and David Baugh and David Planchin and Jerry McCamey and Kerry Goins. Let's see, anybody else? I probably missed some in there. Stuart Rouse was there for a while, and David, or Paul, not David. David's his brother, Paul Devine. And so anyway, I think I got them all. And there's several on there. Sharon, I better not say her last name. That's your guys' friends there, Zach and Lisa. So I'm glad. Hopefully you're still on there, Sharon. So anyway, and if I messed up on saying your last name for some of you, let me know, and I'll apologize. I'll hit myself or something. How about that? I'm just kidding about that. So I'm glad you're here. All right. Hey, step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. So we've gone through this process, man, and the steps are there to help us. And like Zach said, the steps, man, they've helped me so much. They've worked on me. We go through. I don't know how many times I've gone through them, and we go through them every year. And we've been doing that for probably, I don't know, 10 years or more, doing it like that. And I was working the steps before I started Saturday Night Live because I had a recovery meeting for 5 years or more before Saturday Night Live. And I saw the power of it. And if it, and there are a lot of folks that don't see the power of it. That's just because they have a well, I want to be respectful, but that they just sometimes we just don't know what we don't know, and we can't see what we can't see unless we're willing to give it a chance. And that's what relationship with God is about, and with others. And to do that, you have to open up and be vulnerable, just like Lisa was talking about. And that is so hard for us humans to do, because we have learned to protect ourselves. We've been hurt by the people in our life that were supposed to protect us. We've been we've had trauma, we've been hurt, we've been rejected, we've been abandoned, and it just goes on, all the different things. And as I think Lisa was talking about, and I've said many times, that pain is the universal language, and if we communicate our pain, just like the video that Zach was talking about, the person was able to go inside themselves and recognize their pain, even though it may have not been exactly the same thing. Because, and I'm going to talk about me for just a second. Because of my own personal pain, I have felt like that I've been able to connect with people, because I try to connect via my pain with their pain. And I may not understand all the particular nuances, and I don't, but able to be in the pain with them. And there's a language there that because a lot of people they want to avoid their pain, they want to deny their pain, they want to say they don't have any pain. People, I even had a person today was commenting about fear, and they said, well, I didn't believe I had any fear. But then I was listening to you, and I realized maybe I just have different definitions on some of the stuff that's pushing me around. They said it in a different way, which is true. We hide from our stuff. We hide from me. And I said we have multiple parts of ourselves, and some people are going to find that challenging, that statement. Yet it's true. And we all have mental issues, mental/emotional issues. No matter how solid you think you are, that's some of your problem. How do you like those apples? Oh boy, I get myself in trouble, don't I? Well, let's get down into my stuff here, and that I have prepared. And we are now on overtime. So some of the scriptures that was in our lesson tonight on sharing to others out of our Life Recovery Bible and Workbook, which Lisa has a picture of that in representation of her tonight. And so, I thought that was pretty neat that she has it up there. But it talks about, and I'm going to just kind of give you an overview out of Galatians 6:1-2. It talks about that when we see somebody that's having a problem that's been overtaken, that we humble ourselves and we reach out and try to help them, and actually help them by bearing some of their burden, to help them to get to the place where they can stand underneath the weight of it themselves. They need to come to the place that they do that, because if if we don't help them to come to the place that they're able to stand underneath their own weight, then we've made them permanent cripples by needing somebody other than their knowing that they can be free and that they can have that relationship with God to work through their healing. And so when we connect with them, but we don't get, as Zach was talking about, that we are careful that we don't that we're not tempted by their stuff. We have to be careful with that. We have to do it wisely. And there's been so many that I've talked to that have overreached and harmed themselves. The object is not to harm yourself. Okay. I saved several folks when I was a youngster from drowning. Everyone that I tried to save pushed me under. Okay. But I knew that they was going to do that. And so I was prepared and was able to try to help them, even though they pushed me under. But if I wasn't prepared and skilled enough in all of these different things, just like Zach was saying, and I'm pointing at you, Zach, because you're on my screen there. And then there's a lot of people that have the person that was saving the person that was drowning. They both ended up being would drown. That happens. So we have to be aware. We have to be skilled. Our compassion is good, but we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. We have to love ourselves properly so that we can love others. And that goes to this next scripture. And I'm taking way too long in this preliminary. Out of John 13:34, it says that Jesus has given us a new commandment: love each other, just as I have loved you. You should love each other, and we do need to love each other. But then he goes on down into verse 12 and 13 of chapter 15, verse 12 and 13. And he says, now this is my commandment here, is that love each other in the same way that I've loved you, which basically is very similar to what I already read in 13:34. It says, there is no greater love than you lay down your life for a friend. And laying down our life is not just sacrificing our life, but being willing to climb down in that hole, as the video depicted, and be willing to try to make that connection. Now, sometimes when we make that connection, the person that we're down there trying to help, they don't want the help. I mean, they do want the help, but they don't want the help because the help is painful. You know what I mean? It's painful. It hurts to get help. Healing is painful. Suffering is a whole lot more painful. Now, the trouble is we're familiar with that type of pain and suffering because we've had a lot of it. It's scary healing pain because it's not familiar. Let's skip that. And I've talked about this and the book. I think I've talked about it several years ago about the 6 pillars of self-esteem. I think I've taught it here at Saturday Night Live. But this is just some principles out of the book, and that's building self-esteem, 6 practices to build a healthy or healthier self-esteem. And I remember back in the 70s when I became aware that how important a healthy self-concept, a self-esteem was, how it just connects with so much. And the tragedy is that so many of us have been raised in families of orientation that didn't nurture us to love ourselves, and actually we ended up hating ourselves. I'm including myself in that, and a lot of our parents, some of them, well, I'm just going to say this. A lot of our parents, mine included, they tried to do the best they could under the situation, even though they just didn't know. Okay. My dad was better than my mom, but and that's the way it was, and that's the way it is for a lot of people, and we gain our self-concept by those early beginnings, whether it's whoever raised us, and we develop our picture, our story about us, our value, whether they meant to twist us up or not, it still happens. And everybody gets, I don't think any of us can go through life and not be twisted up or have those traumas, those pains, but some are worse than others. How's that? Is that okay? All right. And so here are, I'm looking at the time. Here are the principles, okay, that we need to practice. And the key word is practice. Either say it out loud or think it in your mind. Practice. Practice. Okay. Number one, practice the practice of living consciously. That's number one. Number two, the practice of self-acceptance. Number two, the practice of the practice of self responsibility. That's number three. The practice of self assertiveness. Okay, number four. Number five, the practice of living purposefully. Okay. Now I know I'm going fast here. I'm going to go back and touch it again, but I wanted to list them. Number six, the practice of personal integrity. Okay. Personal integrity. Now, Nathaniel Brandon is the author, and I came across some of his material back probably in the late 70s, probably maybe early 80s. And Zach, he's the guy that does the sentence stem, where I got the sentence stem, if you're willing to see what you see and know what you know. Okay. And I've used that sentence stem a lot. I'm not going to talk about it tonight. It might be good to talk about, but if you want to find out what's hiding in your corners, ask yourself, if I was willing to see what I see and know what I know. Okay. And I know without an explanation, but we're not willing to see what we see, and we're, for the most part, not willing to know what we know. But just because we're not willing to see what we see doesn't mean that we haven't seen it. And just because we don't want to know what we know, that doesn't mean that we don't know it. So if you were willing, maybe you could start seeing what you have seen and know what you know. And we'll talk more about that. And I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but it is so powerful, and it scares some people really badly. So you just had my warning about it. Okay. If you're willing to jump into the water go slowly, a toe at a time. Okay. All right. Anyway, he's such a brilliant man on so many levels. And the power of asking yourself questions taps in to those things, that wisdom that's inside of us, because the scripture says that he has put it already in us, and the trouble is we need to tap into it. Okay. All right. Number one, the practice of living consciously. Okay. We have to respect. We have to develop respect for the facts. Okay. Be conscious. That means we have to accept reality. We don't have to like reality. Okay. All right. But we have to accept reality. We have to accept reality. We have to respect the facts. Okay. The trouble is, most of the time we want to turn the light off. We want to numb out. We want to avoid. We want to run. We want to hide. We want to do something to avoid it. You know, one of the human characteristics is to avoid pain. Okay. And then seek pleasure. All right. We have to respect. We have to have respect for the facts being that's being presented to. We have to be present to what we are doing while we're doing it. We operate so unconsciously. In fact, neuroscience says that we operate unconsciously 95% of the times. That stuff that we've already internalized, and it's good so we don't have to think about everything. But the trouble is, if you're living unconsciously, and Lisa referred to this earlier, then we're just numbed out. We're living a program, okay? And by the way, who created your program? And is that the program you want to live by? Okay. And if you don't, then you have to change the program. And I know that's hard. Oh, it's hard, but it's so healthy, extremely healthy. Okay. Because a lot of our programs are programs of fear, limits, just, well, 85 to 95% of everything we think a day is negative. So, all right, we have to be present with what we're doing when we're doing it. We have to seek and being eagerly open to any information, knowledge, and feedback that bears on our interest, values, goals, and projects, seeking to understand not only the world externally to ourselves, okay, and look, I jumped, but also our internal world as well, so that we do not act out of self-blindness. I know that's a mouthful. And you can look this up, the 6 pillars of self-esteem. There's all kinds of stuff all over the internet, okay? And I would recommend that. And I don't know that I can go. He says so much in just a few sentences. It's power packed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to have time to go through all that. But number 2, the practice of self-acceptance. Okay. Being willing, having the willingness to own, okay, your experiences and take responsibility for our thoughts, our feelings, our actions without evasion, denying, disowning. I know I'm going fast. And also without this without self-repudiation. There you go. That we need to do that. We have to be willing to think, and we are so critical about ourselves. We beat up on ourselves for what we do and what we don't do, what we think, what we don't think, and we're just crippling ourselves. And we need to be willing to accept ourselves. We don't have to like everything we think and do, but we first have to accept so that we can be engaged with them. And we don't have to like them, like he's saying here, but don't reject yourself. Don't beat up on yourself. Okay. And so that, and give yourself permission to think these thoughts. Okay. Well, you say, well, they're terrible thoughts. I had a woman here a couple of weeks ago that said, I had these terrible thoughts about, when I was raising my kids and all kinds of stuff, and even thought about suicide and so forth and so on. And she was convinced the devil had those thoughts. And I understand, but the fact of it is, if you're not willing to recognize the weeds that are growing in your brain, and then be willing to deal with them. Okay, well, I don't want that. That's not where I'm going, and that's some of that congruent stuff that I hopefully get to talk about later. That we go ahead and say, I want that out. Okay, and you say, I pull that weed, but it keeps growing back. I know it happens. Okay, it's used to be in there, so pull it again. Okay, practice it. Practice pulling that out. That's what these things are. These are practices. They're not one and dones. They're practices. We have to clear the stuff out. And you say, well, it will never end. You're right. It will never end, but it will get better. It will get better if you don't give up. If you continue to keep pulling those weeds, eventually it will begin to slow down and fade out. Okay. And so what we need to do is we just need to recognize and accept ourselves, that our emotions, our actions, without necessarily liking them. Okay, we don't have to like them. We got to recognize it. This is what he's saying right here. We don't have to endorse them or condone them, okay, or condemn them. The vital thing here is to accept reality, apply reality to ourselves, and that I want. By the way, reality is the truth. That I want the truth. I want reality. Okay. And begin to do that. And I know it's hard. I know this is complex. I know it's difficult, but so is suffering and pain and self-inflicting pain and beating up on yourself and then drugging out or drinking out or sexing out or cutting or rage or just whatever. Okay. And I'm sorry, it's challenging, but just remember, it's increments, it's steps, it's piece at a time. Okay, healing. Yes, there are sometimes supernatural miracles, but most of the time everything is healing. Whether it's mental healing, emotional healing, physical healing, behavioral healing. Okay, all that. I got to stop doing that. I got to stay with the program here, or we're going to go. So the number 3, the practice of self-responsibilities. Self-responsibility. Realizing that we are the author. This is hard. We are the author of our choices and actions. We are the author. Okay, we pulled the trigger on it, consciously or unconsciously. Okay. And if we don't take responsibility for it, and we're blaming other people or situations or this world or the devil or whatever, okay, then that's our excuse not to have to do anything because it's not my fault, okay? And it's not about whose fault it is what we're going to do about it. What do we need to do? Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay, so we need to engage. We need to recognize. We need to take responsibility, and I talk about that a lot because that's such a vital key to health. Because how most of us get into deep holes is because we have avoided taking responsibility somewhere, somehow. Even if, I was telling someone here the other day, I made a deal with God that he was going to take care of one thing and I was going to take care of something else. And because I was doing this, he'd take care of that. And the trouble is, God didn't sign off on that deal because I advocated my responsibility. Okay? Because I'd rather him take care of it because it's hard. And I'll just do this over here. Now, I did my part over here. God didn't do his part over there. And he reminded me he didn't shake on that deal. He didn't create that deal. I did. And by the way, we can't strong arm God, okay? Not generally, okay? We have to take responsibility. When we make the mess, we need to clean it up. Yeah, God will even help you with that. He will. Thank God for that. Number 4, practice self-assertiveness. I remember when I found this self-assertiveness, being assertive. That's not being angry. That's not being forceful. That's not being necessarily being bold, but it's being assertive. Okay. And that means that you are willing to step into the problem, that instead of avoiding or hiding or hitting it with a sledgehammer, okay, let it build up to the place where you hit it with a sledge. That doesn't work out. So we have being authentic in our dealings with others. We need to be authentic with them. I mean, in our earlier years, we're used to force being our card we always played, right? Force. Who has the most force in this deal, okay? Or strong leverage. Who can create the most fear, maybe, okay? But to be really self-assertive, we need to be authentic in dealing with others, okay? Treating others with value as a person, okay? All right? And in a social context, okay, that and not refusing that we're not refusing to we shouldn't refuse, we should refuse. How about this? I was saying it correct. We should refuse to fake the reality of who we really are. Now that's kind of, a lot of times we don't want to be who we really are because we don't believe that we're enough. We don't believe that we've got it. We don't believe we're really worthy or worth enough, and so we live by the paradigm of the world, which I do not subscribe to, and that is fake it till you make it. I don't believe that we can do that because all we're doing is lying to ourselves, and that diminishes us, that depletes us, that tears us up. Okay, and so we need to be assertive, but not forceful. Okay, we need to be willing to step in, but not overpower. Okay. And of course, there's a balance to everything in to the degree what you're dealing with. All right. But assertiveness is so important, and that we need to be willing to be assertive. Oftentimes, after we come to ourselves and we realize how wrong we've been, then it's real easy then to sometimes we become more passive. How about that? How about that word? And I'm not saying that kindness, true kindness, is not passive. Okay. True love is not passive. True love can be assertive, and sometimes it can be soft. And being able to know yourself, knowing which lever to pull in that, what's in maybe what's in that person's best interest, and if we can really love them properly, what's in their best interest is also in the long run in our best interest, because as we give, we receive. Okay, let's go to number 5. Okay, and that's again the practice of living purposefully, and that's living with a purpose, and working to identify the short-term and long-term goals or purposes and the actions needed to attain them, which is formulating an action plan. Okay, we're trying to work all these things. We're doing something on purpose, and if you can see this as that we're trying to align ourselves with that purpose and how we want to be, how we want to talk, what we want to do, and that we're lining that up. Okay, and the trouble is, a lot of times people have they're not lined up. They're not congruent, and so when we live that way, we're not in unity, and we're not in harmony, and we actually lose our spiritual power because it's spread out. Does that make any difference? Or you can understand that. So anyway, we'll go forward here. So we need to organize. We need to organize these things in our life. And I know Zach's talked about this because I use this a lot with people. I'll say, what is it you want? And what are you willing to do for that? What are you not willing to do for that? What actions, what lifestyle, what patterns do you want? And are your lifestyles congruent with what you want? Okay. If you say one thing and do something else, that's not going to work. Right? So we need to live purposefully. We need to be focused on our target, and we need to have everything lined up to help us to get where we want to go. And when we do that, man, it just releases that power to go to work in our behalf, to think and feel and to do. Okay. All right. Let's go to the 6th practice, and that is the practice of integrity, living with congruity, which I've already talked about a little bit already, because all these things kind of push together. Between what we know, this is where he says this about this congruent or congruency. What we know, what we profess, or what we say, or what we not or but and what we do. Okay, It says what we know, what we say, what we do. Those things need to be lined up. They need to be congruent. And if you say, I'm never going to make it, but I want to make it. See, that's not congruent. You follow me? All right. Let's go on and telling the truth, honoring your commitments, okay, and that we're an example in action, okay, of the values that we profess, that we say, and that we admire, okay, that we admire. We see something that we want, and so then we have to start lining these things up on what it is that we say that we want. Now, I know it's hard, but these are some tools to help you to begin to turn your life that's been upside down, maybe right side up. And I can't make you do anything. All I can do is I want to try to help you. I want to encourage you. I want to inspire you. I want to affect you so that you are able to make some new choices. And so what we need to do here in this integrity is that we need to tell ourselves these things and deal with others fairly and benevolently. See, those are measures to yourself. Okay, catch this. This is. I think this is important here. All right, when we're talking about integrity and how you treat others, because whatever you do to somebody else, it's going to come back to you. It comes back to you. Proverbs says cursing somebody is like throwing a boomerang. It comes back to you. Okay, and whether you accept Proverbs or not, that's still the way it's going to happen. Comes back. You know what happens. Okay, so he said so that we and so how and that's what the 12 steps have been telling us all along. Okay, that's trying to help us to make our shifts, and we take some actions on the outside to help. It's I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg. Okay, I don't know, but as we try to take some actions, it changes stuff in here, and when we change stuff in here, it helps us with some actions, and when we take some actions, it changes some stuff, and we keep. It's kind of like when you run stuff through the washer, it washes it, but it's not totally clean. It's cleaner than it was. Okay, how many times do you have to wash it to get it totally clean? I don't know. I don't know, but as we continue to go through that process, we become better and better. We're more healed. We have more peace. We have more recovery. We have more serenity. Life starts coming and starting to work out, and the biggest key is we just need to not sabotage ourselves, blow us up. Okay, so I was on the last sentence here, and then we need to when we betray our values, we betray our mind, according to Nathaniel, and our self-esteem is eventually a casualty. So when we betray ourselves, our values, then we harm our own self. That's what he's saying. Okay, and our self-esteem, we dislike ourselves more. And I'm always telling people when they're trying to go through the decision-making process, when you get through this, you're going to ask yourself a question: do I like myself more or less? And if you do X, will you like yourself more or less? If you do Y, will you like yourself more or less? What is you want? What is you want? You get to choose. I don't tell you what to do. Okay? You get to choose. And I'm glad we get redos. Good. All right. Any comments from anybody before I do my wind down? Since there is only silence, I'm taking that to mean shut up, all right, and be quiet, and we're gonna, because I know I've gone long, and thanks everybody for hanging in there with me if you did, and hopefully it was of some value to you. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you with great radiance. He smiles on you. Think about that. He smiles on you. If you can accept that, if you can believe that, if you can feel that, okay? He smile on you and he'll give you his peace. You have his peace. So, hey, have a great evening. Have a great life. Stay safe. Make healthy choices. Always, please, make the healthiest choice that you can and continue to grow in that. And I'm glad you're here with us. Thanks to the team. And I'm going to move it over back to our MC, and she'll take us out. Thanks everybody for being here. It's I appreciate getting an opportunity to share with you. Hopefully you've got some good things out of it. So here you go, Debbie. You got it now.
Thank you, Doug. That was really, really good. I love the tools that we get that you always give us. And we're just thankful that everybody in video land has been with us tonight. And, just make healthy choices through the week and come back next week and see us again. Good night, everybody.